Most gardeners hit a point where kneeling stops being uncomfortable and starts being a warning. Your knees ache the next morning. Your lower back takes days to recover, and slowly, without really deciding to, you start going out to the garden less. That's not laziness. That's your body telling you the way you're gardening isn't working anymore. Most people respond one of two ways. They push through the pain, or they give up. But there's a third option almost nobody talks about, and it doesn't require you to stop gardening at all. It just requires you to stop gardening the way you always have. In the next few minutes, you're going to see 5 specific, low-cost changes that let you keep growing, keep planting, and keep enjoying your garden without kneeling, deep bending, or putting strain on your back. And one of these hacks eliminates the single most physically demanding task in any garden for less than $10. Hack 1. Raised bed gardening. The ground is the problem. When your plants live at ground level, your body has to go down to meet them every single time. You are crouching to plant, kneeling to weed, bending to water, and none of those positions are ones your back and knees can sustain for long before they start pushing back. A raised bed changes that completely. When the bed sits at waist or hip height, you work from a standing position, or from a chair pulled right up alongside it, and your hands stay at a level where they can actually do useful work without pulling your spine into positions it does not want to be in. The height that works best for most seniors is between 24 and 30 inches. That is high enough to reach without bending and low enough to feel stable. Width matters just as much though, and this is where a lot of people get it wrong. A bed that is too wide forces you to lean and stretch to reach the center, which puts you right back where you started. Keep it to 24 inches across. That way you can reach the middle comfortably from either side without overextending your shoulder or rounding your back. You do not need to build anything from scratch. Pre-made raised bed kits at most hardware stores run between $40 and $80, and they go together in an afternoon. If you would rather spend nothing, wooden pallets stacked too high and lined with landscape fabric work, and so do stacked cinder blocks with a few boards across the top for a work ledge. Once a raised bed is in place, every other change on this list gets easier, because your whole garden is now at a height where your body can actually cooperate. Raised beds solve the bending problem, but they do not do much for the strain that comes from gripping short handles and leaning into every task. That is where your tools come in. Hack 2. Long-handled and ergonomic tools. Standard garden tools were designed for general use, which mostly means younger bodies with more flexibility and fewer years of wear on their joints. A short-handled trowel or a standard hoe forces you to lean forward and hold that position while you work, and it is that sustained lean that does the most damage over a morning in the garden. Long-handled tools change the geometry of the work. When the handle is long enough, you stand upright and the tool does the reaching. Your back stays straight and your knees stay out of it entirely. Look for handles between 48 and 54 inches long. Lightweight aluminum is easier to manage than wood over the course of a full session. For grip, foam or rubber over a thick diameter handle means you do not have to squeeze hard to keep control, which matters a lot if your hands tire easily. A long-handled cultivator loosens soil without kneeling. A telescoping weeder grips and pulls roots from standing height. A foam grip trowel handles planting without the tight pinch a thin wooden handle demands. If you do want to work at ground level occasionally, a rolling garden stool with a low seat and tool storage underneath lets you move through a bed sitting down, with your weight on the seat instead of your knees. The one mistake worth avoiding is cheap tools with thin handles that flex when you apply pressure. They are harder to control, and they fatigue your grip faster than a well-made tool would. Better tools reduce what your body has to do, but a sprawling ground-level garden still demands constant movement. You walk between rows, crouch to check progress, and pull weeds that keep coming back no matter what you do. The layout itself is working against you. Vertical and container gardening flips that. Instead of you going down to the plants come up to you. A tiered planter stands set at elbow height, a pallet garden mounted on a fence, or a cluster of containers sitting on a sturdy outdoor table all put your growing space where your hands naturally rest. No crouching to check the soil, and no kneeling to reach a plant tucked behind another one. You stand in front of it the same way you would stand at a kitchen counter. Tomatoes, herbs, lettuce, strawberries, and beans all do well in containers and vertical setups. They do not need deep soil volume to thrive, and they produce consistently through the season without the sprawl that makes ground beds so demanding to manage. Start with a single container at counter height, filled with a lightweight potting mix rather than garden soil. Garden soil is heavy and compacts in pots, making it harder for roots to breathe. A good potting mix stays loose, drains well, and weighs far less when you move things around. Add a drip tray underneath, and you have also handled the watering mess. The other advantage containers give you is almost zero weed pressure. Weeds need soil contact and light to germinate, and a container on a table gives them neither. That one change alone removes the task that puts more seniors on their knees than any other part of gardening. A small vertical herb setup near your back door means basil, rosemary, or mint within arm's reach anytime you are cooking, without a trip across the yard. You have now changed where your garden lives and how you reach it, but there is still one daily task that does not get easier just by raising the bed or switching the layout, and that is watering. Hauling a watering can across a garden adds up fast. A full can weighs close to 20 pounds, and doing that several times on a warm morning is genuinely tiring. It is easy to skip when your energy is low. A dragged hose is not much better. It catches on bed edges, pulls you off balance, and leaves you standing in one spot with your arm extended until the job is done. A soaker hose laid along the base of your beds solves this quietly. It is a porous hose that seeps water slowly along its entire length, delivering moisture straight to the root zone while the surface stays dry. Connected to your outdoor tap with a simple battery-powered timer. Set the schedule once and the garden waters itself every morning before you have had your first cup of coffee. A basic soaker hose costs under $20. A tap timer runs under $25. Together, for less than $45, you have eliminated the most repetitive daily physical task in the entire garden for a full season. Because the water goes deep and slow rather than across the surface, your plants actually absorb more of it, which means they grow better with less effort from you. Watering is handled. Now, there is one more task left that quietly ends more gardening seasons early than almost anything else: weeding. It is not just that weeding is tedious, it is the position it puts you in. Down on your knees, bent at the waist, reaching forward and pulling for as long as it takes, which is always longer than you planned. And the frustrating part is that pulling weeds does not stop more from coming. The soil is always ready to grow the next one. A newspaper weed barrier stops the problem before it starts, and you set it up once. Lay 4 to 6 sheets of newspaper directly on bare soil between your plants before weeds get a chance to establish. Early spring is the best time. Overlap the edges by several inches so there are no gaps for weeds to sneak through. Then wet the whole thing down so it holds in place, and cover it with 2 to 3 inches of mulch or wood chips. The newspaper blocks the sunlight that weed seeds need to germinate. Anything already trying to grow underneath gets smothered. Unlike plastic landscape fabric, which tears, tangles around roots, and becomes its own removal project at the end of the season, newspaper breaks down on its own and feeds the soil as it goes. One afternoon of work in early spring can carry you through an entire summer without pulling a single weed. The newspaper is free. Any stack you have been meaning to recycle works. The mulch is the only cost. and a few bags from a hardware store cover most raised beds. If you are already using raised beds or containers from earlier in this list, the newspaper layer is even easier to apply. The beds have clean edges, the soil is contained, and you are not fighting around tree roots or uneven ground. Set it up once, cover it with mulch, and that part of the garden stops demanding your attention for the rest of the season. Now you have taken care of how your body moves through the garden. But there is a second thing quietly working against you, and most gardeners never connect the two. It is what you are actually putting into the soil. Every time you walk into a garden center, you are walking into a business that needs you to believe your plants cannot survive without their products. The sprays, the pellets, the starter fertilizers in bright packaging, most of it is not solving problems your grandmother could not fix with things already in her kitchen, and you are spending real money on it every single season. There are 7 old-school garden secrets that have been quietly working for generations, and they do not require no kneeling, heavy lifting, or a trip to any store. One of them involves something sitting in your kitchen cupboard right now that protects seedlings better than the antifungal sprays garden centers charge a premium for. Another one could cut your slug problem without a single toxic pellet. And the last one on the list will change how you think about watering entirely. That video is on screen right now. Click it now to learn all the secrets.